Hello, I'm Jim Manning. I've been a Kennedy researcher for over 50 years. I'm the author of Patriotism, Unhinged, available worldwide through online retailers. We're going to discuss all of the people who were involved in putting together the assassination. At the top is James Jesus Angleton. He was the counterintelligence officer at the CIA and probably one of the top three guys. James Jesus Angleton was a paranoid man who saw spies everywhere. However, he was very good at determining who that they should be very careful of taking into the CIA. Without him, there would never have been an assassination. He got familiarized with the plan that the Kennedys were using of giving information to Georgy Bolshakov, and then that was being sent back to Moscow. When that happened, he went all out in recording the Kennedys in every place they were. Hyannisport, Hickory Hill, which is where Bobby Kennedy's home was, the White House. And so they were able to connect a lot of things that they could show to back up their claim that he had to be executed. I will tell you that the second man was the director of Central Intelligence, John Mcome. John Mcome had been assigned as the director after Jack Kennedy fired Allen Dulles for his lying and cheating him about the Bay of Pigs. He also fired Bissell and General Cabell. McCombs came in, and he had no background in intelligence. He was a businessman from California, and so he relied heavily on his underlings to tell him what to do, and also Allen Dulles, apparently. Once again, we see the fingerprints of Allen Dulles on everything. The third person was the head of the Dirty Tricks Department, as they called it, Robert Turnbull Crowley, also known within the agency as the Crow. Those three met in McCone's office and decided what they were going to do. At the end of the meeting, it had been determined that Kennedy would have to be assassinated. And the reason was that if they didn't take care of it that way, it would just take too long, and they wouldn't get it done until Kennedy was probably out of his second term. So that was the determination that they made. So they're your first three. Then we move on to William King Harvey. Now, William King Harvey was a very top guy. He was known as the James Bond of the CIA. He had been with the FBI before, and he was rather dramatic. For example, he would go into restaurants and he would take out two guns, put them on a table as he was ordering and then eating, which was very dramatic, but it really didn't need to be done. So he had a flair for the dramatic, let's put it that way. He also was involved in ZR Rifle, which was the plan to put together an assassination team for all assassinations. Let's talk about the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was General Maxwell Taylor. He had replaced General Lyman Lemnitzer because Kennedy thought he was a lunatic, Kennedy's own words. He liked Maxwell Taylor. He thought he was a good man. So he was the head man. Then General George Decker and General Curtis LeMay and, Admiral George Anderson made up the rest of the Joint Chiefs. It wasn't possible to kill John Kennedy unless each and every one of the Joint Chiefs agreed to it. And so it was a little surprise to me personally that Maxwell Taylor, having such a wonderful relationship with John Kennedy, would vote yes. Continuing down from there, there was Sam Cummings. Now, Sam Cummings was the head of Inner Armco, which was a company that was a proprietary arm of the CIA. And they dealt in munitions, all types of explosive ordnance, They gave rifles to countries all over the world. Interarmco supported burgeoning groups of democratic people in communist countries, basically handled all of the weapons that were used in the assassination by the groups that were involved. They had decided that in order to go through with their plan, they had to get the approval of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So they sent for a man named William Bill Sullivan, who was the deputy director of the FBI at that time and J. Edgar Hoover's right-hand man. They showed him some of the evidence that they had, and they told him to go back and explain that to J. Edgar Hoover, and he did. J. Edgar Hoover then asked for a meeting with CIA director Mcome, and at that meeting, he saw enough evidence to concur that he was on board with the assassination. After that, they needed the help of LBJ. So they sent for Abe Fortas, a very, very close associate of Lyndon Johnson, and also Walter Jenkins, who was LBJ's right-hand man at the White House. When they came, they were told pretty much the same thing that Bill Sullivan was told and shown some evidence. And they went back, talked to LBJ. LBJ wanted more evidence, and he got that. And then he concurred. Now, they didn't really feel, the CIA didn't really feel that they would have a problem with either of these people because J. Edgar Hoover hated the Kennedys, and they were going to force him to retire shortly as he reached the age of 72, which was the age for a director of the FBI to retire. So he knew he was losing his job. LBJ knew that he was not going to be on the ticket for the next go-round because he would probably be in jail, because on the weekend of Kennedy's murder back in Washington, the Justice Department was having meetings on what charges to charge him with. He was just weeks away from being indicted. So if he followed through with the plan, that would all go away, and he'd be the president of the United States. So they figured that was an easy one. And it was. And so they moved onward from there. There were other people in the CIA who knew about this, but they weren't really mentioned in the minutes of any of the meetings. Meyer, for example, was very, very instrumental because of his control of the media and both print and video. And so he was very much involved. He was divorced from a lady named Mary Pinchon Myers from a wealthy New England family that had once known Jack Kennedy and danced with him at a high school prom. Later on, in the last 30 days of his life, Jackie was not in residence at the White House. She was listed as coming to the White House, I believe, 16 to 20 days out of that month. And they were having an affair. She had introduced Jack to marijuana and also to LSD because she was a very close associate and friend of Timothy Leary, both having been from New England. And Timothy Leary was a Harvard psychologist, well known in the United States as the head guy when it came to LSD. Mary Pinchon Myers was hated by her ex-husband, Meyer. Meyer was a fairly high-up guy in the CIA. After the Warren Report came out, Mary was very upset about it because she knew that it was just a fairy tale, and she knew a lot of things that she could bring up that she had acquired either from Cord before they broke up, or her association with the wives unofficial club of the CIA and the Georgetown group, who met frequently to talk. And one of those wives told Meyer that she was talking quite a bit about what was going on over there at the CIA, and that he might want to talk to her about that. Instead, they decided to kill her. Shortly after that, she took a walk daily. They call it the canal. I believe it's the Erie Canal originally, who moves down through Georgetown. She was murdered by a CIA agent. She was shot on her daily trek down through the canal through Georgetown. She was shot twice or three times, I believe, and died immediately. It's interesting to note that within minutes, there were as many as 9 CIA agents looking for the perpetrator. And one had found the gun that was used just a step ahead of a DC police officer. The odds on that many CIA agents being that close is infinitesimal. After that, it was upsetting to me personally that I read that Meyer had taken some white paint and painted up under the Key Bridge where you could see it. Good luck, Mary. That seemed like a horrible thing to do, but I guess he was very proud of the fact that he had stopped her. Meyer knew about the assassination, and probably other people in the CIA knew too, if they had a need to know. Just like the Secret Service. The Secret Service had to know what was going on at the top. A lot of the agents didn't know. My personal belief is Clint Hill didn't know, but there are agents that I believe did know, and at some point in the future I may name them.